Welcome to our Devos. We are talking about moment-making habits. Habits that force us to be in the moment as opposed to living in distraction, as opposed to living in passivity where we're kind of somewhere else. This is focusing on the moment and being present. And relationships thrive when we are willing to take a moment and be present in them and not just focus on the next thing. Now, today I want to give you, for those of you that have trouble unplugging and being in the moment, something that might help you. And that is you have to create hard stops. I was on a podcast with a pretty big Christian influencer one time, and I was able to ask him some questions. And I asked him the question about how do you create space in your life where you do take time off, where you do kind of edge other things out and you focus on being in the moment. And you know what he said to me? He said, Sam, you should learn how to make a brisket. And now, I'm not much of a cook, so this was lost on me, but then he explained. He said, when you're cooking a brisket, like this day-long experience, he said, you kind of have to be present to make sure that you're there for that. You have to be at home. You have to be making sure that you're watching the temperature. You have to make sure that you did the seasoning. You have to make sure the prep work is there. And it's really hard to take a meeting in the middle of that, or it's really hard to take a phone call for an hour or 2 hours, or to binge watch a Netflix show in the middle of that, because you now need to be in the moment enough to take care of the preparation of that meal. And so what that meant is I created a hard stop. A hard stop, think about a hard stop as something that really once you start, you can't really get off. So a hard stop would be you go somewhere that forces you to not be able to answer your phone, like a movie. You go somewhere that forces you to only be alone, like you go out of town with your spouse or with you and your kids. Like it's going to be hard to be as distracted when you're away as it is when you're at home base. A hard stop would be you having a moment where it's impossible for you to be pulled away because it'll wreck that moment. But you have to create hard stops. Jesus himself almost alludes to this when he discusses Mary and Martha. And you have Mary and Martha, you know the story, where Jesus is there and he's speaking, and Mary is at Jesus' feet, and Martha is in the kitchen, and she's slamming the pots and the pans, and she's preparing, and she's upset. This is Jesus' response. In Luke chapter 10, 41 through 42, it says, the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things. But one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. Mary, instead of moving about the house, forced herself in the room with the teacher where she was listening. She had to be intentional. She had to be there. Some of you, you're like, I want more friends. I want to have more meaningful relationships. Well, maybe your hard stop is you have to start to throw a dinner party. You want to be the central hub where you're forced to be there with those people, with nobody else around, that those people that matter to you, that you're investing in them, that you're focusing on them. But it requires you to be in the moment. It requires you to focus all of your attention on a hard stop, where you create a space where nothing else can infiltrate that space. When you do that, it enables you to remain in the moment and to show that relationship where its priority is.